Welcome back to the BTS Happy Hour podcast. I'm your host, Andrea. With me, as always, is Morgan.
Hey, what's up?
So I came across an article today, and it's called What Went Wrong with BTS's New Album? And it's from Forbes, and basically it was talking about Map of the Soul 7, The Journey, how well it was doing in the US. And even though I think we all know it's a Japanese album meant for the Japanese audience. So I'm reading this article and it's talking about how it wasn't very impressive for the American charts. And I just thought it was really strange, the tone that this article was taking. I didn't understand why that was the focus of the article. And then so I was on Twitter and other people also didn't like it and where this article was going with that. So it didn't make sense because it's a Japanese album and it's a whole different strategy going there because it's just meant to succeed in Japan.
Right. So basically this guy just didn't do his research. He didn't understand the whole some albums are just made for Japan. He just didn't know that. But you have to understand he's probably just an entry-level music writer on Forbes who had a deadline and saw some charts and said, oh, that's interesting. BTS doesn't have a high charting album for some reason. And he just pumped out an article. That's my interpretation of what happened.
I do feel like sometimes you see a bunch of articles and it's like you read it and it doesn't really say anything. It's like they just have some quota or something. And it's like,
yes. And mentioning BTS is good clickbait too.
Let's talk about chart stuff because that's like such an easy thing to talk about.
And he just didn't understand that. It's an American writer. He probably is not a huge K-pop fan or anything. Otherwise, he would understand this. Now, is it ignorant of him? Yes. Would I be worked up about it? No. I don't find it to be a big deal.
Talking about like, oh, well, why didn't they release it on a Friday? Like
that's what happened?
Like,
oh, yeah. That's not the reason why.
Records are always released on a Friday.
Right.
It's like, well...
And he thought maybe that's the reason why it didn't sell?
Yeah, it's like, well, if they weren't trying to do well on the American charts.
Well, because he was just grasping for explanations for why it didn't sell well. Because he didn't understand why.
Yeah.
He thought, that's weird. They're not selling well on this album. He just didn't look into it very much. Mm-hmm. But that is sort of I don't want to get into it that much. That's sort of the broader state of journalism today.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of not much research being done while writing articles.
Yeah. Scant research, pump out something, clickbait, title. That's journalism these days, you know? And part of it is the fault of the internet. I'm not saying the internet is a bad thing. Overall, it is a good thing. But this is maybe one of the negative byproducts. Journalism has really, really gone down because they're under pressure to create these sort of clickbait articles with a tight deadline. That's what this was. Nothing more than that. It wasn't some secret plan to take down BTS or something. Like this article is not going to take down BTS anyway.
I have seen some conspiracies about that, though.
Okay, but they're wrong. They're wrong. There's no conspiracy by some junior writer at Forbes to take down BTS with an article, speaking poorly of their latest Japanese album. There's no such conspiracy. And if that was a conspiracy, it's a really poorly formed one because it's not going to succeed in doing that. So bad on you. It's a dumb conspiracy. It's not effective.
Yeah, and I didn't think it would be like number one in the US either because it wasn't trying to be. It's like all Japanese album by a Korean
why
act.
would it be? It's just a Japanese version of an album that if you're a huge fan, you already bought. Right?
Yeah, the American fans would have bought Map of the Soul 7.
Wow, you bought that album. He didn't understand that, though. That's a thing that if you are just, hey, I need an article by Friday. Oh, I don't know. What's going on right now? Let me look at the charts. Oh, that's weird. BTS is charting low. That's how this article came about.
Right.
Okay? And he just pumped it out. He doesn't know how K-pop does a whole regular album, Japanese version, etc. He probably just thinks one album comes out, right?
Yeah, and it's like Japan, I guess they do it a different day of the week. I'm
still confused. I look at like on Spotify under artists and it says their albums. And if you go to an American artist, it will list one entry for each actual album. And they'll have maybe 4 or 5 of them, right? If you go to a K-pop artist, it will list 37. They did not come out with 37 albums. It was a mini album, another mini that's a repackage of the 2 previous minis, and they just called it something, right? Mm-hmm. This one has one song that is in Japanese, so it's packaged again as a different album. Like that's sort of how it's done there. And if you're a North American, you don't quite understand that, and it's a little bit confusing. And you might say, well, it's your job. You're a music writer, and so you should look into this sort of stuff and know this sort of... Okay, fair. But again, keep in mind the state of journalism today. It's just, give me an article by Friday. Make sure the title is clickbait. That's the way it is. And you might think that, Forbes, that's a very respected name or something. No, Forbes is a pretty clickbait operation. I can tell by the articles that I see come through there. There's not much to it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. In another journalism story, there's Time Magazine is going to have a special feature bookazine, which is that even a word? I don't know.
I think it is. It's a very antiquated thing. It's
like,
kind of like if you're in the supermarket checkout and then you see something that doesn't look like a magazine, it looks too thick to be a magazine. I think that's what they're talking about.
It's like, oh, here's a special
right.
thing about Princess Diana or something. It's
right.
like,
it's the type of thing that old people would buy. It's not something that any of our listeners probably even understand. But next time you're in a supermarket checkout aisle, the magazine, there's magazines, obviously, you know that. But there's also the thicker things. Like, let's say if someone important dies, they'll have a thicker thing.
It's a special edition.
I've never looked through. I don't know what's in them, okay? But I know the binding is thicker, so I think that's what they're talking about. I think.
So, yeah, Time Magazine is going to do one of
Time
these.
Time does this sort of stuff, yeah.
About BTS. So I guess they figured, it's
time. They figure people...
Time to do one on BTS now.
Yeah. I mean, it might sell copies is what they're thinking.
And so people we're looking at some of the sample pages or like on Amazon or they posted pages on Twitter, and people didn't really like what they saw so far. It just kind of seemed like a pretty basic, BTS, the K-pop band that conquered the world. And it's just kind of like very generic. And it's like, how did 7 guys from South Korea become a global pop sensation? Mm-hmm. And the part that people didn't like was they're talking about how American boy bands paved the way for BTS. So it's like trying to give credit to Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Mm-hmm. And then, that's why anybody likes BTS now. So they kind of took it like that, which I don't know necessarily that was the intention. I think that whoever wrote it was just trying to like make some kind of historical comparison with boy bands, even though I really don't even see that there is a connection, because if you like BTS, it doesn't mean you like any of these other bands or put that together in any way. 20
years ago.
Yeah, exactly. There's like how many years were in between that? Right. So I don't know. I just think it was a way for whoever wrote it to make it some kind of story, make it kind of relevant to Americans.
I saw this and people were angry. They don't deserve credit for BTS. I agree. They didn't pave the way. You know who paved the way? The Beatles. Somebody did pave the way. You didn't expect me. Someone did pave the way. BTS is not the first boy band. Sorry to tell you guys that. They're not the first boy band. The Beatles were the first boy band. They did pay. It wasn't NSYNC and it wasn't the Backstreet Boys, but somebody did pave the way. Now, would BTS be successful if there had never been such a thing as a boy band in the history of the planet? Maybe, right? That's possible. I'm sure it's possible. But is it easier now that people are sort of used to it over the past 50 years? I'd argue that it's easier because this is not a weird thing. It's a boy band, right? So I wouldn't say that they paved the way. That's not true. And I don't think that the authors were trying to take away any sort of credit. I'm pretty sure, here's what their logic was. They just want to mention some other things that other people recognize to make the thing more commercial.
Yeah, right? They're trying to say that BTS is like this.
It's like this.
Just so you know.
Like, you, person in line, 50-year-old woman in the supermarket line, looking at this thing while you're waiting to check out. You're waiting to check out with your foods that are way too high in saturated fat or whatever, okay? You're wondering, what's BTS? 7 Asian guys? What's this all about? Time is trying to explain to you what it's all about in terms that you understand. So when they say, it's sort of like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, those guys paved the way for this thing. This thing is like that other thing. And then woman in line who's never heard, buying way too many saturated fats, you've never heard of BTS, but you've heard of NSYNC, you've heard of Backstreet Boys, and then it rings a bell. So you say, oh, I get it, boy bands. When I was young, I liked boy bands. Maybe I'll like this. Maybe I'll pick it up and I'll flip through the pages and maybe I'll I don't know, purchase this bookazine or whatever the hell they call it. That is what they're trying to do. They're trying to just cast a wide net and appeal to people who may not really know what the hell this BTS thing is, but they know what NSYNC is, they know what Backstreet is, and they probably did like NSYNC. They're very popular, and that might pique their interest. That is what they're trying to do.
I do think they're trying to
Okay, they're not trying to denigrate, and they're not trying to take away any credit.
They're trying to help these like boomers and the grandmas that are in line understand like this is what BTS is similar to, in case you never heard of them.
They're not trying to undercut anybody. They're just trying to make and I hate to use the term boomers because boomers are actually people say anybody over 30 is a boomer. That's not accurate, guys. It's people who were born after World War II. They're very, very old now, okay? They're like 67 to 80, okay? Yeah. If you're 50, you're not a boomer. You're Gen X, okay? Anyway, it's to help those people understand.
Like 70-year-olds are like the younger boomers.
Yes, exactly. The younger ones.
That's like the Clintons and stuff.
Yes.
They're the younger boomers.
They're the younger ones. Most boomers are more like 75, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, a person who's 50 years old, they're not a boomer. They're the people birthed by boomers. They're like Gen X. So that's another discussion. But anyway, this wording is just to help people understand. People who are not familiar with BTS. Nothing sinister about it. Nothing disrespectful about it. So don't worry. Gosh. I mean, BTS Army, you get your hackles raised so
They're really
easily.
critical.
Yeah. Calm down. It's not that serious. Nobody is trying to insult anybody. Trust me. They're just trying to make it a little bit relatable to the people who are not in the know. They don't know anything.
You just have to say it's like this.
Yes.
From their time.
Yes, exactly. That's all they're trying to do. It's just a helpful heuristic for the boomers, just to let them understand.
And then if you didn't...
And they actually changed it, which is amazing. They bent to that pressure, right? They changed that description.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they had to do that, but I guess they were like, oh, well, maybe these people won't buy it unless we change it.
And that's fair because it's part of the audience that they want to purchase it, right? So you don't want to offend the actual people you want to buy it. Although that might be too late now. But I can see why they're doing that.
Yeah, that's usually what these Time magazine just bookazines are for. It's just for like the random person like impulse buying it and they're like at the grocery store or at the bookstore. They even still have bookstores.
Right. No, you don't know what it's about because you never picked one up.
No, I've never.
Yeah, exactly. You have no idea. I have no idea either.
Maybe it's not meant for me then.
No, it's just an impulse. I think it's impulse buys and crazy people wanting to collect. They think everything is a collectible. They think, oh, the thing I like is on the cover of this. It's collectible for me now.
Or it's like a gift for someone else,
right.
like by an older person. It's like, oh, I heard my granddaughter loves BTS, and this thing is about
it's more like a collectible.
BTS.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. I'm not sure anybody reads the contents of these things. So
yeah, and I mean anything like that, it's like, oh, it's about BTS, but it's like not super accurate, and I don't love what they wrote in there. It's like you don't have to buy it. You don't have to like do anything. You just like it's just more merch that's out there.
Right.
There's a Korean YouTuber who has put together a video that talks about how the Illuminati has taken over K-pop. So this channel, it's called Spica Studio, and the video, I tried to watch it, but it's completely in Korean and had no subtitles. So basically I had to...
You have no idea what she was saying.
No, I didn't, but I clicked through all the examples she was showing, so you could kind of see what the point was. Mm-hmm. And she was basically saying like certain groups, not everybody, but some groups have kind of sold themselves to the devil, or they have relationships with the Illuminati, and then this, since the symbolism is showing up in their videos or performances, that's how you can tell who it is. Yeah. So if you have like the eye or the pyramids or black and white, like I didn't even know black and white was like a bad thing. Like the black and white checkered pattern.
Okay.
That counts as Illuminati.
Okay.
And that's like satanic imagery, and
sure.
So she had like all kinds of examples. So
awesome.
It was like let me scroll down here. She had
I'm familiar with these types of people. You don't even have to list them.
Some stages where it's like, you know, the floor was shaped like an eye, or it took place under like a pyramid, like a triangle. Like I think this one group here, I think that is a 2NE1, possibly.
Well,
They're all
triangles happen
under a triangle.
Right.
And Produce 101 even, like that whole set.
Yes,
it's under
there's a bunch of triangles.
A huge triangle.
God.
So that's
right.
They're satanic.
Well,
according to this woman.
I've seen other non-Korean these types of people. I've watched this sort of thing. Basically, anytime a triangle occurs, they will accuse you of being in the Illuminati. Mm-hmm. Guys, a triangle is a pretty naturally occurring shape. I don't know what the issue.
Sounds like you're not buying this.
No, I'm not.
This theory.
Because there's lots of triangles that naturally occur, and eyes too.
And I don't know what is the purpose.
And also, what is the benefit? Why does the Illuminati need K-pop groups to be under tow? I don't understand.
They're trying to recruit more people.
I could understand if you said, well, it has world leaders in it, titans of industry. Yeah, but it's okay. Okay. Well, why K-pop groups? Why bother with that? Just to be thorough? I don't understand. It seems very, very odd.
Maybe because K-pop has such a large audience, and
it doesn't really though.
They can recruit some of the fans.
I mean, they don't. Most people don't even understand what they're looking at. They don't.
That's true.
A checkerboard, a triangle. No one's gonna look at a video that has triangles and then say, "Oh, I'm gonna contact my local Illuminati branch and
let me join." Like, what
do
they even do?
Is it like? It is not like a thing you can just join.
It's not Scientology, or there's like buildings to go to, and
they don't want just any average I mean, if they existed, they don't want just any average person just to walk up and join. That's not how this sort of thing works. So I don't understand this whole they're recruiting people secretly. What use does the Illuminati have for teenage girls to come, and even if they knew where to go after seeing triangles? It's totally nonsensical.
I guess it's just to spread the satanic beliefs.
Is that what the Illuminati is
subconsciously?
Is that her spin, that it's a satanic belief? That's not everybody's. Some versions I've heard that it has nothing to do with Satan. It's just like they rule the world, you know?
So it's more power than about worshiping Satan.
I've not heard that.
But she was showing like pictures of Lucifer and like the horned goat and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
okay, I get it.
Those images. And another thing, like when I was clicking through, she was showing a picture of Lee Soo-man, who is the head of SM, and how he has some kind of relationship, because he was in multiple pictures, I guess, with Philippine Rothschild. And of course, the Rothschilds, they're the evil family of the world, right?
Was he in a picture with a Rothschild?
Yes.
There's like 2,000 Rothschilds, right?
There's many of them. So I don't know if this was an important one, or if she's like a nobody Rothschild, or what.
People often say the Rothschilds are so rich, and yes, that is true. They are so rich. But there's like 2,000 of them. Their wealth is very spread out. Anyway, I don't want to argue whether these conspiracy theories are true, but I'm pretty sure that they have no real use for K-pop artists to be part of it. And also, they don't really recruit. What is the point? If the point was to recruit, it's a really bad recruiting effort. Because people don't even know necessarily that that's what this is about. They don't know where to go. There's nothing in the videos that tells you where to go if you are interested in being recruited, right?
Right.
Like you said, it's not like Scientology, where they have an office. It says Scientology on the outside. If you're interested, walk in. They have a brochure for you, right? They don't have that for this. No one would figure it out. They're not trying to recruit. So what is the purpose of putting all these secret images in K-pop videos? Just to laugh at people and like, hey, we're ruling the world, but we can't just control ourselves and just keep that on the down low. Right. We have to hide little messages about it in K-pop videos. What is your goal?
Yeah, like each group that's signed on, they have to do that in their videos.
What is the purpose of that? If you're secretly ruling the earth, wouldn't you want to keep that as secret as possible? Why are you putting triangles in everything? Assuming, of course, triangles really do represent the Illuminati. But why are you putting it in everything? Do you want us to find out about it? No, you're secretly ruling the world. So you don't want us to find out about it. So why are you putting secret images in things? You wouldn't be. That's how you know that this is bunk. And just ask yourself, do the motives even make sense? Now, there are some conspiracies that do make sense, right? Like, okay, this government did this, but here's the obvious gain they had. Here's the benefit. Here's how they could benefit from it, right? And those things, some of them have turned out to be true because you have a person, a clear benefit, a clear way to execute it, and oh, boom, they actually did it. Wow, that's not too surprising. One of the things that have turned out to be true is the American Gulf of Tonkin, right? Where an American ship was fired upon, and they said, oh, the Vietnamese did it. Many years later, they found out that the Vietnamese didn't do it. It was just used by the Americans to get into that war, right? But that has a clear, okay, here's what you can do. Here's how you benefit from it. Here's how you can execute it.
There's a motive there.
Yes. Everything was logical. Everything from point A to point B was logical. So that conspiracy made sense. And lo and behold, it was true. There's nothing about the Illuminati stuff that makes sense. Okay, great. You're worshiping Satan. Wonderful. I'm happy for you. You're ruling the world. Great. Also wonderful. Explain why you want to hide secret images in K-pop videos. How does that benefit you? What does it achieve for you? If the answer is nothing, this is weird. Why would we do that? Even if we worship Satan and rule the world, we'd have no reason to do this action. Then that tells you everything. It's not true.
And some of the examples, I felt like, oh, well, that's not really satanic. It was just kind of the theme of that video. Like, this woman had a lot of red velvet because apparently they are doing this a lot. And like, if I'm trying to think of their like peekaboo video, it's like, well, that was a horror video.
Yeah.
Like, that was the purpose of it.
It's all bunk.
It wasn't trying to be like, oh, look, we worship Satan, everybody. And another example was like the BTS Blood, Sweat, and Tears video, which that wasn't satanic. It just had a lot of like, the story of it was just like a fallen angel or something. Like something like angels and devils or whatever. But it's not about, oh, let's worship Satan, though. It was like, it was some kind of a story. And they were trying to say like, oh, well, that proved that BTS is in on it. And that's because that's when they became successful. But it's like, that's not when they became successful. Because that happened at an earlier time. And I feel like I've heard Bang PD say that their breakout hit was I Need You. And that was like 2 years earlier. So it's like, that had nothing to do with their Blood, Sweat, and Tears, supposedly Illuminati video.
It's all bunk.
So that was just
funny
like,
to watch, but it's
that
bunk.
was the theme of that video. That's it.
It's just a crazy woman. It's okay.
But it was interesting. Yeah. You can make a conspiracy out of anything. And
like, you just spot triangles and things.
Yes.
That's one of the easier ones, guys.
So speaking of Red Velvet, we saw the story today that Red Velvet, well, we don't know if it's Red Velvet, but this was reported that a K-pop girl group is planning to release a new version of one of their songs soon with a new featured artist. And then a lot of people thought that sounded like Red Velvet would be that group.
And was it confirmed?
I don't know if it was confirmed because like he purposely didn't say who it was. He was just saying like putting it out there like a blind item. But then there was some person who commented named Kevin Germanier, who is a Swiss designer who works for Red Velvet or designed something for them, costumes, and he said, oh, it is. It's totally Red Velvet. And then later on, he was like, oh, no, I didn't mean that. I was just hoping. He was like, I was just kidding. And then, but I don't know, maybe it was one of those things where it's like he confirmed it and he wasn't supposed to, and he's like, oh, I'm taking it back.
Well, I think it's great news.
But
I think it's great news. I think
it could still be Red Velvet.
I think it is. Well, I mean, from the article I read, it seemed like they were more sure that it is Red Velvet, right?
Well, from the timing, it would make sense because their anniversary is on August 1st, and so that would be a good time to release like a special kind of single. So that would make sense, and maybe this guy wasn't supposed to say anything yet.
Right.
But yeah, he was like, oh, I'm hoping it is. Like, he was trying to like walk it back.
Well, I hope it is as well. And it would make sense if their English version is of Psycho, because that's their most recent hit.
Oh, that would be cool.
Right.
That's a good song, and that would definitely be good for...
And if they collaborate with who do you think the American artist is going to be?
Well, that's a good question. Probably not Lady Gaga, since she just did something with Blackpink, and probably not Dua Lipa, and I'm trying to think, like Ariana Grande maybe, or somebody like that.
I think Ariana Grande feels like she's too big for it.
Oh, maybe a rapper. Maybe like a female rapper or something.
That would be easiest. Yeah, probably it is a rapper. I hope it's Doja Cat.
Yeah, I was going to say
Doja
like
Cat.
Doja Cat or Megan Thee Stallion or Cardi B or something.
Those are the easiest ones to collaborate with because they just lay a rap down, you know?
Yeah, and that would be something that makes a big splash too.
Right.
And I think because they kind of got robbed, because that's when Wendy got hurt, is right when they released it. So if they do a re-release with an American feature,
and I said at the time, it is a great crossover song. I think that song would play excellent in North America. I think it would just be a huge hit here. So an all English version of that makes a lot of sense. You know who? It's not going to happen, but you know who they should collaborate with? They should collaborate with Taylor Swift.
Oh wow, that would
because
be
this song
huge.
Doesn't it sound? It has a lot of notes of blank space. Mm-hmm. In my mind, it sounds very much like that. So I think that a collaboration of that, it would just kill. Of course, it's not going to be because she's too big. She wouldn't collaborate with. Oh, who knows? I never say never, right? Maybe Taylor Swift is thinking, "Hey, I need to get on this K-pop train."
Yeah, that could be.
And this song seems like a Taylor Swift song as well. It has those sort of notes, and I feel like it would definitely
it does fit
succeed
with some of the songs like Reputation era.
Yeah, it would be great. But whoever they collaborate with, any English version of Psycho and sort of refreshing it in the public's view, I think would be great because it was a great song. It just sort of got hidden it came at the end of the year, last year.
Yeah, and then they couldn't really perform it.
And they couldn't perform
with everybody.
Yep.
And then coronavirus, so then basically nobody could perform for a while. So yeah, that would be a good move if they did that. Hwasa from Mamamoo was on a show called I Live Alone, and apparently she was wearing some kind of outfit. People thought it looked like Nigerian clothing, traditional clothing, and it was like a head wrap and kind of a gown that you wear. And so she got backlash over that because people thought she was mocking Nigerian clothing on this show. The show clarified and they said, oh, it wasn't supposed to be Nigerian. So it was just like kind of a mistake to begin with. But a lot of people were like getting upset about it. So they were like, well, we better comment and say like it wasn't even meant to be a Nigerian clothing. It was supposed to be a Korean sauna look that Hwasa has worn on this program before. And I guess because it was a comedy skit or whatever, that they're like, well, it's mocking Nigerians.
Yeah, okay. We're going to have one of these every single week, aren't we? I'm not going to say that much about it. I clicked the link. I tried to do as much research as I could. There's no translation of the clip. I saw her wearing something that, kind of sort of looked like what I think. Listen, I don't know what Nigerian people wear, but I guess it kind of looks sort of Pan-African or something.
I think because of
It looks similar to what I saw in Black Panther. I'm not saying that as an insult. This is just like the extent of my knowledge of what African garb looks like, right? And they say that, no, it was sort of what someone would wear to a sauna. I won't dispute that either because I don't know what sauna clothing looks like either. So I don't know what is true. And I don't know the full context because I don't, A, understand Korean. B, I didn't see the whole show. I don't even know what the skit was. It's
yeah,
like,
we don't know the context of all that.
What was the joke? If she was wearing Nigerian clothing, then what is the joke? Because what I saw, she met up with two other people who were dressed like one was dressed like a super goth, and one was dressed like, I don't know, an idiot or something. Is the idea that you're wearing crazy clothing or something? I don't. But even so, is that what she was? Was that what she was? Sort of the effect of what she was trying to wear? We don't know. I don't know. I can barely tease out the context of it.
I don't get a lot of things that are on Korean shows, but I'm not going to assume they're trying to offend somebody.
They said that no, she's wearing this thing, and maybe that's a cover. Maybe they're lying. Okay, maybe. But even if they were, and she was wearing quote unquote Nigerian clothing, I can't. I don't care at this point. And I think that for the people who do care, is your life, just ask yourself, if you really get worked up over this stuff, is your life not exhausting? Somebody wears something on TV, literally on the other side of the planet. And you have to go out on Twitter and punch out your opinion about it.
Let me get on Twitter and then harass people about it.
I can't be a fan of this anymore. Like, hey, then don't watch it. And I know that that's actually a thing that's often said. People often say, I'm exhausted. Okay, well, I feel bad for you. Sincerely, I don't want people to be exhausted or to feel bad. But have you ever thought of maybe the solution is you just disengage from it? Because you don't have to, this is not stuff you have to engage with, right? There's plenty of stuff in this world that upsets me, that I don't agree with. And sometimes I engage with it and sometimes I do not. And most of the time I don't. And for precisely this reason, it exhausts me. It takes sort of my mental energy, right? So I just don't look at it. I don't talk to people about it. I don't argue with people about it. Now, that's not to say that I never do. That's obviously not true. I do sometimes. But I do when I feel like I have the energy to do it. If it is legitimately exhausting for you, then the best course of action for you is just to not engage. Just don't watch these Korean variety shows. Don't click on this link on Twitter. Somebody says somebody is problematic. Don't click on it because you know what's coming, right? You know how you're going to react to it. So don't. And I'm not even saying you're wrong. What I am saying is you know how it is impacting you. So don't engage with it.
I found there's like
right?
a growing number of people that are in K-pop, and then all they do is like find out all these negative things, and they're like, there's cultural appropriation, there's being offended, and there's all these things like every week. And I feel like maybe you should walk away from K-pop if it's like bothering you so much.
Yes. Maybe you should come to terms with the potential reality that these people from this country in this industry are just not very sensitive to your feelings. And that's okay. There's plenty of other people from other countries and other industries that maybe will cater to your feelings. Maybe you should go to those places that are not so exhausting for you. If your goal in life is to make sure that every single space is tailored to your needs, I'm not even trying to, this is not a knock. I'm not trying to offend you. I'm not trying to one-up you or get a gotcha or anything like that. I'm just telling you that's not going to happen. And if you're a K-pop fan, you've unfortunately chosen an industry and a country and a people that is really not tailored to that. Maybe you should listen to something from North America that will be much more sensitive to your needs. That's not even me saying, oh, go here, crybaby or whatever. Like, no, if you have needs, if you get exhausted with all of these people being so problematic, then please, by all means, go to spaces that are not going to trigger you so much. That is the best advice I can give to you. It just is what it is. And I'm not going to argue about what her intentions were. She may have, I don't even know what she was trying to do. I don't understand Korean. Maybe she was wearing what she thought was Nigerian garb and she was making fun of it. I don't know. I won't say definitively she was not. But if this sort of thing bothers you so much, then it's not the place for you. It's not logical for you to like this thing so much and to consume it so much. Don't patronize it.
There's only fans where they're talking more about the negative things and the things that they don't like and things that are issues for them more than they're talking about, oh, I love this music or I love these people. It's like, if it's more negative than positive for you, then it seems like, well, I don't think this is the right genre for you or the right place to be.
There's people who really hate the sight of blood and really hate any concept of violence. Well, those people probably should not be MMA fans. But those people should also not go into MMA spaces and say, hey, MMA, could you change yourself to fit my beliefs and to be more palatable to me? Could you have less violence? Could you have less... No, that's the stuff that makes MMA. And those are the people in MMA. They are violent people. That's the thing that they are. Now, that's not exactly the same because, being culturally insensitive is not integral to K-pop. That's not what I'm saying. But obviously, since there's a thing that comes up every single damn week, it's pretty obvious that for a certain segment, they do think that a large percentage of K-pop artists in the industry are very culturally insensitive to the needs of, let's be honest, people in North America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm not saying your sensitivities are wrong. And I'm not even going there. I'm not saying they're right either, but I'm not even going there. What I'm saying is that it would be like a pacifist liking MMA and saying, hey, MMA, I like MMA, but could you do it in a way that has less violent? No, it is what it is. You don't like it, go watch something else. There's plenty of other stuff in this world.
Yeah, it's kind of like take it or leave it. There's other music to like.
I think we have to accept that a lot of people in K-pop, Hwasa specifically, are culturally insensitive to the sensitivities of a bunch of people who live in North America. Is that right or is it wrong? Should she care? Should she not? Those are higher level arguments. Those are concerns that for her, but for you in the immediate term, it's obviously bothering you. These people in this industry, they're not adding to your quality of life. So why are you still watching it? Why are you still consuming it? If I was a pacifist, I would not be consuming MMA. I would watch the Golf Channel. I go bird watching or something, right? There's other things in this world. You just have to accept that maybe this thing isn't for you. And the people in that industry don't care about you. And that's the thing they often say. It's like, do you not care about us? Yes. Maybe the honest truth is they just don't care about you. And that's okay. You don't care about everybody else on this planet, right? There's other people who are concerned with your behavior. You may not even necessarily know about it because they're not Americans on Twitter. Americans on Twitter have a very loud voice. So their concerns are generally heard a little bit more than other people. Americans are privileged, right? So when Americans are complaining about something, they have the wealth, the platform to complain about those things. People generally hear our complaints. You know, there's stuff that you do that people on this planet somewhere find problematic, probably, right? Mm-hmm. You don't ever hear about that because they're not Americans, so their platform is not necessarily as robust. Sometimes you just have to accept that, hey, I'm 100% right, but you know what? You're the only right person in the room. Everybody else in the room has all the wrong opinions, but who's the loser here? It's you, because your life is negatively impacted by being in this space where you are right and everybody else is wrong.
I saw some posts talking about Hwasa, and it's like, oh, her again. It's like, this is the fourth time
Yeah, it's like, you again.
She's done it. Yeah. And it's like, I bet you like all the other times, and this time wasn't even a real instant. This one was a jumping to conclusions thing. Yeah. But I bet you all the previous ones were just totally like unintentional or like inadvertent type of things.
And I didn't research it, so I won't say that every single other time was unintentional, inadvertent, whatever. Maybe they were really quote unquote problematic. But here's the thing. She's obviously a person that doesn't care. And she's part of this industry and this thing that you're in also.
I don't think it doesn't care. It's just like she doesn't see it because she's Korean and we're in North America. Right. It's like it's not something you would see if you're on that side.
And maybe she has a different point of view than you.
Yeah.
She doesn't agree.
I doubt she thinks
she cares that
she did anything offensive.
Maybe she does care that you're hurt, but she does not agree with your point of view. And hey, you know what? That's her right as a human being. There's a segment of K-pop fans, mostly American, that feels that, yes, so many people in K-pop are super problematic. Is it the space for you? My suggestion would be to just examine that. You know, I'm not telling you to not listen to K-pop. You can listen to songs, but you don't have to, engage on Twitter and read all the news or whatever. You can ignore all of that. You could just listen to it on your Spotify. You don't have to look at what everybody's saying and doing and all that stuff. So maybe that is what's best. Hoping beyond hope. I don't have to talk about it again, but we will. Probably there'll be another thing next week. And you've voiced your opinion plenty of times. It's not like they have not heard your opinion. If they wanted to really change and behave exactly the way you want them to behave, wouldn't they have done it by now? But since they haven't, I'm going to guess that it's not a priority for them. So they're going to do what they're going to do.
They're just doing the best they can. And so you have to accept that, or just like, don't complain like every single week about some different thing.
Either they're doing the best they can or they don't really care to try, right? In either case, the power is out of your hands. The only power you have is to consume this, to be part of this community, or to not be part of it. That's the only thing that's in your hands. You cannot control their behavior.
Yeah, I think they think by being so outspoken, we're going to change how the artists are. And it's like, you can't change how people are. They are how they are.
And I find it pretty offensive when people are trying to control other people's behavior. Hey, if people are behaving in a way that I don't think is right, well, if it's murder or something like that, we will try to control their behavior, right? But if they're offending me, I'm not so arrogant to think that, oh man, if you're offending me, we need to bring the powers that be down on you so you can stop offending me. No, I don't think that at all. I just re-examine whether or not I want to be part of this space, because you people in this space are offensive to me. And I'll think, should I leave? That's under my power. I won't think that, oh yeah, we should bring a hate mob on you to change your behavior.
No, that's how it is today, though.
But that is how it is.
You bring the angry mob to destroy somebody.
It's not even working, though.
I think if there's something you don't like, you should just take away your dollars from that, or take away your attention from that. So walk away to something that is not bothering you so much.
It really looks to me like people who are gluttons for punishment, and they keep engaging with a thing that has a negative impact on their life, that just upsets them. Why would you do that? I know a lot of things that upset me, and I've learned over my life the things that upset me. And the vast majority of them, you know what I do? I just don't engage with them. Like, I don't watch movies where dogs die because it makes me sad. Right? Mm-hmm. I know that it's not going to make me happy. It's going to bother me. Even though it's a fictional story, I still will not do it. It could be a very good movie. What should I do instead? Should I go on Twitter and try to make people who create movies where dogs die say, hey, you should never make another movie where dogs die? I just won't watch a movie. Does that make sense? That's the thing that I can control. And what takes less energy? It takes less energy for me to just not watch a movie. How much energy would it take for me to change an entire industry's behavior?
It's like, let me call the director and say, change your movie so that the dog doesn't die.
First of all, that's not even within my power as an individual, right? Because I'm just one person. But even me added to a bunch of voices on Twitter, could we do it? Maybe, maybe not. You see my point, though.
See, but maybe K-pop labels made a mistake to begin with by even responding to some of these other times and like, oh, we heard what you said and we changed something or we edited something. Because now it's like, oh, well, we'll just speak up every time then. But where if you talked about you didn't like a movie because a dog died in it, they would say, well, that's the story we told. That's right. What was intended. So
well, yes. So these people who complain, I guess you could say they've affected some change. True. But since they're complaining about a new thing every week, obviously you have not changed the industry as a whole. It's still problematic as hell, right? You're still watching it.
That's like, what's the definition of insanity? It's like doing the same thing over and over again.
So maybe you changed a couple, but clearly the industry as a whole is still bothering you. There's still a bunch of South Koreans who are not perfectly sensitive to the needs of North Americans. Now, repeat that sentence. Does that not sound ridiculous? Maybe you think that North Americans are just right about everything and that South Koreans should bend their behavior to fit our cultural norms. Maybe that's your position. I would submit that that's maybe ethnocentric. Let's not even go there.
It's kind of like, oh, us North American fans showed up. Now everybody listened to us about everything.
It's like, now that
we must be listened to.
Now that 30% of your sales come from North America, you need to correct all of your culturally insensitive behavior. You need to correct it all to our standards. Because, hey, we're 30% of your sales now. Just people, if you're that bothered by the way K-pop is so insensitive and so wrong, just disengage from it. And I'm not even saying that with a tone like, get the hell out if you don't like it. You know, like, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying disengage because it's clearly not healthy for you. It's not a net positive for your life. And in the interest of only having net positive things in your life, I would suggest that you leave and just start liking other things that are net positive. Think about your own well-being.
Rolling Stone published a list of 75 best boy band songs of all time, and it had a number of K-pop songs on it. They didn't really explain what they considered to be a boy band, so I thought that part was strange because it covered like so much time, everything from all the way back to like the 60s and 70s up to present day and international groups too. And it's like, okay, I don't know if all that needed to be a part of what they're looking at for boy bands, because I think of boy bands as like later, like more modern, like 80s, 90s, 2000s to present. So they put together a list of 75 songs, and it had different genres. It had like R&B and pop. Like another thing is like I feel like boy band is mostly should be pop music, but they had some like 70s rock bands even were in there. So
like which one?
I don't know how that counted. No one I'd heard of, but it's like Bay City Rollers or like just some people from the 70s that I don't know who they are. But the notable part to look at is the BTS songs that were on here, which it had Moon at number 5, Spring Day at 19, Euphoria was at 34, and then Fake Love was at 56, which like there's a lot going on with just that. It's like that didn't even make sense to me. Like, okay, I get you're going to include K-pop, but the order that they put the few BTS songs that were on there, it just didn't make any sense. Moon was at number 5. It's like, okay, I get...
No, their order sucks.
It didn't make any sense. Like Moon, I like Moon, and I feel like it's underrated, but okay, 5th best boy band song of all time? No, I don't think so. That much. That's not even BTS's best song. So like, no. I feel like you should have looked at the boy bands. Okay, who's a boy band? Okay, and then what was their like top 5 songs and then kind of sort a list from there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to say like that's BTS's number 1 song. That doesn't make any sense. That would have to be like Spring Day or Fake Love or something like that, you know, to me.
Really? My favorite song is Mic Drop.
Oh yeah, Mic Drop, that could definitely be a contender.
Yeah. But that's because I like the more Western sounding songs.
Yeah, like for me, probably it's Spring Day or Fake Love or DNA or, you know, like the later songs, the ones that like when I was getting into BTS, those were like the ones I was like attached to.
I saw the list. Did you recap the list? Like who's on it?
Let's see. They didn't.
The top 10 was.
Yeah.
The top 10. Also, I have a problem. List the top 10. Look at this.
Number 1. We're not going to go backwards and like try to hold you in suspense or anything. Yeah. Number 1 was "I Want You Back," Jackson 5.
Okay, that's fine.
Number 2, "Bye Bye Bye" by NSYNC. Number 3, "Candy Girl" by New Edition.
That's fine too.
Number 4.
Oh no, 2 wasn't fine. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think "Bye Bye Bye" should have been lower down.
That's way too high.
Yeah, that's too high. "I Want It That Way" was number 4 by Backstreet Boys.
Right.
That should have been
number 1.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, that should probably be number 1.
I think that's number 1.
And
"Moon" by BTS 5.
Yeah.
Oh, that should be Mic Drop or something.
Yeah, or at least one of the title track BTS songs.
There's a One Direction song, Bad.
Yeah,
I think that sucks.
I don't think any of their songs need to be like prominently on this list. I can't even think of any one song of theirs that was like, oh wow, that song's awesome. It's like, does anyone sing One Direction at karaoke? No, they don't. No one even remembers their songs now, really. Like only the One Direction fans. I think that's what's.
Well, there are One Direction fans before.
There are, but I don't feel like they got beyond that. Like, oh, mainstream. Like everybody knows what song that is. You know, like I feel like Jonas Brothers are a little more like, oh, everybody has heard of this or that song of theirs. So, okay, yeah. "What Makes You Beautiful" was number 6 by One Direction. Number 7, "Obsession" by Aventura, and this seems to be a Latin American group. Mm-hmm. I've never heard of this, but I guess number 7 of all time, according to Rolling Stone. 8, "The Right Stuff," New Kids on the Block. I thought that was okay placement. That's probably their best song. And then number 9, "Mbop" by Hanson.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a pretty viral song, I guess is how you say.
Yeah, that was a big hit.
Yeah, that's fair. Number 10, "Summer Girls" by LFO.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's not a great song.
I remember that song. I don't remember it being like that great.
I remember being great. So here's my problems with this. First of all, I hate Rolling Stone just in general for background, so I'm biased. Number 2, NSYNC should never be above Backstreet Boys, ever.
Yeah.
I used to be an NSYNC fan, but the years have taught me that Backstreet Boys is superior. "I Want It That Way" probably is number 1. It's okay to put the Jackson 5 at number 1. It's kind of, it's hard to argue with the Jackson 5, right? But here's the other major problem I have with this list. They don't categorize the Beatles as a boy band. Why?
Yeah. I feel if you're going to include Jackson 5, then I think you should include Beatles.
I feel like by your criteria, even the ones that they mention, pop music, it's in the zeitgeist, screaming girls, Beatles, that describes all of them.
It's like they didn't want their whole list to be the Beatles.
Right. And then there's one throwaway line where they said, inauthentic music or whatever. It's like, so why is it Jackson 5 there? Are you calling them inauthentic? Right? No, you wouldn't dare to call the Jackson 5 inauthentic, right? You know what's going on. They don't want to put there's boomers and there's older people who don't want to put the Beatles there because it's a higher class of music in their mind.
They feel like they've transcended.
It's better music. But you've got to remember, no, you don't have to remember because most of us are not alive at the time. But learn your history. The Beatles were a boy band. They came here, they did pop music, screaming girls, passing out. What's different? They write their own music? Well, I mean, BTS writes some music, right? Not all of it. I mean, I'm not going to say they're the same caliber songwriters that the Beatles are. No, absolutely not. But they write some music, right? They're very similar in almost every regard. So for them to not put the Beatles there, now if their answer was, well, if we put the Beatles there, they would just be half the list. Okay, fair, but then let them be half the list because that's a fair list, right?
But that's what I'm saying. Is like they should have had a time cutoff. That way you're comparing like more similar groups. So it's like the 80s and beyond. I think.
Well, they wanted it the whole thing, right?
Okay, Jackson 5, like, I guess technically they're a boy band. They're all male. Right. But to me, it's like, that's Motown. That's 70s.
Right. So Right, and even Jackson 5, I would argue is more Motown than boy band, because those other qualities they were talking about was like, oh, they're screaming girls and it was just pop music. Like, that's not really the Jackson 5, you know?
No.
At least I don't think so. Maybe I have to do more research, but I don't think there were, girls screaming and all this. Like, but that's the way it was with the Beatles. Everything about the Beatles said boy band. The only thing that didn't was the fact that they were not formed by a third party. Like, it wasn't a record company that said, you're a group now. The Beatles decided to be a group, right? They're a band. But that's the only thing that I can think of that is sort of different about them. Is that so fundamentally different that they should not be considered a boy band? I don't think so. They're multiple boys, they're multiple males, right, in a band. Mm-hmm. And they were super popular and people reacted to them this way. And they were the first in an era where there was sort of mass media that had this sort of impact, cultural impact. As a group, one might say that, well, Elvis had this sort of impact and he predated them, but he wasn't a group. He was a single person. That's different. They were the first boy band. Why are they not on this list? Because they take up half of the list.
Right, because it's like, oh, their songs are too good.
So yeah, all their songs are too good.
It's just going to be a Beatles list.
Then just let them. Okay?
But they didn't even explain that. They didn't say what their criteria was.
Right, they should have been more clear about what their criteria was. And if they had been more clear, then I think they would have to let the Beatles on because they fit so many of the criteria, right? They are so similar to all of these other groups. But I have a feeling that the reason why they didn't want to put them on is because they just elitism. They just feel like, oh no, it's good, authentic music. It's not pop, bubblegum, just boy band, whatever. Like,
right,
no,
right.
That's not that's revisionist history.
It's almost like disrespecting everyone who's on this list. Then
yes,
it's
because
like, that's frivolous.
They're saying like, you're just frivolous boy band music. It's like, hey, you know what? One of the most respected groups in Western music history was a boy band. And I think you should be forced to acknowledge that. You should be forced to acknowledge that the Beatles were just a boy band at one point. Now, are they the best boy band ever? We've had this discussion. Yes, the answer is yes. There will never be another group that has as many hits as them and writes as many great songs and as many are timeless. And I know there's lots of BTS fans listening. They're great. The Beatles is just a whole nother level to reach. Okay, it's not realistic to even touch that. Okay, but they started out as just a boy band. That's the reality. And I think that a publication like the Rolling Stones doesn't want to admit it, right? They don't want to, because to the Rolling Stones, music is everything. So high art, music that's high art is untouchable. They like to speak of it like, oh, this is, it's like, well, this is art. This is great music or something. And this is just pop music. This is just boy bands.
The funny thing is, like, Rolling Stone is like trying to do everything now. They're trying to be like a news magazine and opinions and all this. And it's like, you guys can't even do music right. Like, you're not even making your list correctly of, ridiculous rankings of songs. Right. Like, it's not even, you don't even do music right. So
that's my problem with that. That's my second problem with that list. The Beatles they're not on it. Why are they not on it? They're a boy band.
And I did notice they were trying to include all sorts of international groups, I guess, to try to be
more diverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Which is fine, but it's like, okay, some of these songs I never heard of, so how could it be one of the best boy band songs of all time?
Right.
That doesn't make sense. But as far as like, okay, so there was 4 BTS songs on this list, which is fine, even though the placement was totally wrong for all of them. They also had...
They didn't have Mic Drop, Dumb,
yeah,
or
they
DNA.
didn't even have Mic Drop. And they didn't have Idol. And just One Day even.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's all wrong.
But they also had some other K-pop songs, which I thought was interesting. At number 14, they had Sherlock by SHINee. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a big SHINee person, so I'm sorry, but I don't know their whole catalog. But that doesn't seem like their best song. I'm pretty sure like Replay is their best song, their first song. So if they were going to have a SHINee song on there, I feel like it should have been that, and that would have been their representation. And then at 31, they had Fantastic Baby by Big Bang.
Right.
And I don't know if Big Bang wants to be called a boy band. Like, aren't they like too edgy to be called that? I don't know.
No, they have to accept that. They have to own that. I mean, they fill enough of they tick enough of the boxes. They have to be a boy band.
But at least that would be their most representative song. So if you're trying to include Big Bang,
I don't think that this list is total trash. First of all, they have the wrong BTS songs, and they put 4 just to satisfy BTS fans, right? if they really did respect K-pop so much, would it be 4 BTS songs in the top 100 and there's like 3 other ones? No. There's many other great boy band songs.
They didn't even have any Super Junior. It's
no.
like, okay, Super
There's
Junior.
no Super Junior.
That's
exactly.
a huge part of history
huge
here.
part of K-pop history.
There's no Sorry Sorry. That was like classic.
Right. And my preference, Winner. No Winner.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Where's Winner?
I don't blame them for not having Winner because that's more obscure.
Well,
right?
Winner's underrated. So.
Right. But how do you have Super Junior?
Yeah, how's there no zero Super
right.
Junior?
This is a very low effort list is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay? And I don't blame them either. I'm not upset about it because, again, this is one of those, well, it's media these days. Somebody said, we need an article. What are you going to do? Top 100 boy band songs of all time? Okay, pump it out. How much research are they really doing?
This might have been a committee thing too. It's
right.
like, okay, like 10 different people
right.
put in there.
It was probably
in
the room at Rolling Stone. They're like, hey, can everybody give me 5 of your favorite boy band songs right now? And then let's put together a top 100 list.
Yeah, and the person in charge can make an order.
We need it by Friday. By the way. That's the type of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's how these sort of things. If you think it's one person who is an obsessive compulsive boy band fan and he did 6 months of research over this and came up with some sort of algorithm to determine like in 6 different categories which one is the no, that's not what happened.
It should have been like that YouTube guy who evaluates all the dancing.
Well, that's the type
like
of work that fans put in. That's not the type of work that the media puts in. So when you have the mainstream media do something like this, just know how little actual effort goes into it before you get too offended.
And it's like, I'm the type of person that it's like so hard to rank things because it's like, I got to weigh everything
right.
and I got to know all the songs that I'm considering.
Right.
And this would, if I was going to make 75 songs for best boy band songs, it would take me like weeks probably.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you they did not spend weeks on this.
Well, they have a Friday deadline. So they just put together a list. So don't be too upset. I am upset about not including the Beatles though, because that wasn't a result of not having much time. That wasn't a result of doing less work. That was a result of their elitism. That was them indicating that, oh, we think the Beatles are somehow above all of this frivolous pop music. But I'm here to tell you they're not. That's not a knock on the Beatles. That's not me saying, oh, the Beatles suck just like everybody else, see? That's me saying frivolous pop music is music. It is just a matter of perspective. One of my favorite genres of music is American standards. And that's stuff written by American songwriters like in the 30s and 40s. People like Gershwin and Cole Porter. So these days, after people have covered it like Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, Michael Bublé, so many people over the past almost 100 years, like 80 years or whatever, have covered these songs. The same songs over and over again. They're considered almost like classical music, right? They're considered, wow, this is the pinnacle of American popular music. This is amazing. It's classic. When they were written, it was just popular music, guys. When they first came out, it was just meant to entertain people. It was just meant to be
playing on the radio.
It was just playing on the radio. It was supposed to be fun. It was there to make people happy. It was there to put them in a good mood, to make money, to sell records. All the same things that boy bands do today. That's what the goal was. Nobody writing it in the 30s and that music in the 30s and 40s was thinking, man, in 80 years, it's going to go into the American songbook and people are going to call it a standard and it's going to just be covered for the next 80 years. No, they're just thinking, let me write a catchy song that sounds nice, that people like to listen to. And that's what they did. And that's what people writing pop music today do. And that's what the Beatles were doing in 1960. It's only from the haze of elitism and revisionist history years later that assigns an added level of importance to certain genres of music that's really not deserved and not productive. Cole Porter was just writing catchy music at the time. It's a classic now because they wrote good music and we still love listening to it. But people writing BTS songs now, there's nothing to say that music won't be listened to in 50 years and people will say, wow, remember those classics? When they were written, they're just written to be entertaining.
It was just music of the day.
It
wasn't like classic art immediately.
No. And often that's not how art goes, guys.
Yeah.
That's not how art goes. There's not much art where it comes out and immediately people say, oh God, that's that's so highbrow and that's so amazing. And you know what? In a lot of cases, when people assign that sort of value immediately, it doesn't last. In 80 years, people don't look at it and say, yeah, that was highbrow, right?
You only know with time.
You only know after, a long period of time. Van Gogh starved to death, right?
Right. He was in poverty.
Yeah, he was in poverty. Nobody bought he died before anybody thought anything of his work. Now we think he's one of the foundational artists of Western history. No one thought of anything of him at the time, right? So it's only from the lens of history, from perspective, that we can assign this sort of importance. But never let that pollute your opinion of stuff that's happening now and make you call it frivolous, right? Because what's frivolous now could very well be classic and important and foundational in the future. That's what happened to the Beatles. That's what happened to American standards.
That's what happened with classical music.
Probably even classical music.
That was just like, playing on the piano.
Right.
This is the music we listen to right now.
Right. When Mozart was writing his music, he was probably not thinking, you know what? In 300 years, people are going to listen to my stuff.
No.
He's just probably thinking, what does the court of Vienna want to listen to right now?
Yeah, the people that are paying me to come play, what do they want to hear?
What would be entertaining and pleasant for them to listen to? The emperor of Austria or whatever, right? That may not be historically I saw that movie Amadeus, but was there an emperor in Austria? That's a sidetrack. But anyway, that's what he was thinking. What is good music and fun and pleasant for people right now? A lot of the stuff that people find to be groundbreaking and important started out as people just wanted to make it because they were passionate about it, and maybe they thought that people would enjoy it. That is the way it is for a lot of things. Maybe the one exception would be literature. A lot of the important literature, I do feel like when people wrote it, they thought, oh yeah, I'm writing a great novel or something, right? Mm-hmm. That was the one exception. People do set out to write great novels, and some of them do stand the test of time, and people look back and say, that was a great novel. Well, the guy, he was trying to make it one when he wrote it, or the woman. But with music, with movies and things like that, and especially music, I do feel like people just write stuff that's entertaining. But go back to 1965. What is the Beatles? It's just BTS. It's no different than BTS.
Just popular music.
It's just popular music. People like listening to it. But now they're revered. I'm not trying to say that BTS is going to be the same in the future, but let's not separate these two things. I think it's a falsehood to separate these two things. It's just pop music is pop music. It's okay for them to be in the same list, guys.
Yeah, it's just the fact of Rolling Stone's perspective. It's like, well, these are legends and these are just boy bands.
These are just boy bands or whatever. Yeah.
No, they're all boy bands.
Right.
Thank you to our guest, Morgan. You can find BTS Happy Hour on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, Castbox, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. New episodes weekly. Please comment, leave a review, or rate wherever you're listening to the podcast. Follow BTS Happy Hour on Twitter and Facebook. Until next time, this has been BTS Happy Hour. Thanks for listening, and remember, make every hour a happy one.